Christopher Hitchcock. This is my semantic video for the HTML5, and just going to kind of go through real quick what I did and chose here. So for the most part, I tried to stick with as many HTML5 semantic markup elements as possible. So you see here, I've got a header. The header is going to include the navigation, which is just an unordered list with list items for home, shop, club events, and contact. And then under that, each page also has a hero that I would consider part of the header as well. On a lot of the pages, it's going to have an H1 in there. And then a couple of the level 2 pages have an unordered list with list items for, I suppose, what you would call breadcrumbs. From there, the header finishes. We have a main section. That main is going to encompass really everything except for the footer. So this particular page is the shop page, and the shop page has a form that has a couple of different things on it. It's got two different drop downs, which are used in the select and the options for the drop down. I do have a disabled hidden selected option here. That one won't show up obviously in the drop down, but it gives you that like you see on most drop downs where you say, in this one it says see all categories. Then when you get the drop down, you get road bike, mountain bike, and off-road bike. And then this one is for sorting by new and a search function. So then for the H tags here, you can see I used the section and article. The article for this one are each of the different shops, H5, H3. I've used H4, H1, H2. Tried to use them where it looked like it was, sizably correct. It's difficult to do from a PDF document. It's a lot different building something like this when you have an XD document or a sketch document to work off of. So um, basically these articles get repeated, and then you get down into the footer. The footer, I obviously have a footer here. I broke it down into sections. There's 1, 2, 3 that are kind of pushed off to the left here, and then one that's pushed all the way to the right. So I split those into sections, and then there's a lower section as well, where again this is kind of like that copyright area typically in a footer here. So that is the shop page. Event page, very similar. They have the header, the footer, and then inside of that there's just a few different sections here for stuff like the countdown timer that you'll see in this area. The here's my order list that I'm using. This one actually uses, they're gonna look kind of like cards, but they use a numbering system here. So I use the order list for that because then I can make use of that already, bringing in the numbers. And then for the most part, that kind of wraps up here most of my decisions on what I did here. You're gonna find in the index here, very similar. We have some articles here that are for things like the Shop Now button. And one of the issues that I had here when I did validation, I've done a lot in the form of WGAC for accessibility. And I know from the WGAC standards, you're supposed to use a button for them. And I got a validation error, so I fixed it for this. But we got a validation error on wrapping a button inside of an A tag. And the funny thing is, if you don't do that when you go to do accessibility, you get flagged because the A tag is not semantically correct for people with accessibility. So it's kind of a weird thing going on right now between HTML5 and accessibility. You almost can't win. Even if you put a role on there, it's still not correct. So anyway, and then the form here on the contact page here. Got one form here with a few different input types: text, telephone, email, and then a text area as well. And then I iframed in a Google Maps. So hopefully that sheds some insight on what I was doing. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave